Alright everybody, today we're going to talk about Josh's custom AD-15. I can't really say this is a true first impressions video since I've handled this many times. Like I said in my last video, pretty much every time I go and see Josh, I end up messing with this for a few minutes. You are going to see quite a bit of orange reflection. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of wearing an orange shirt again. Mike will be happy though. Mike loves orange and black. I do have black shorts on as well. And we're going to try to ignore that plane flying overhead. So the AD-15. When I first saw it, I thought it was a really cool design. I thought the lock was really cool. How it locks into the back of the blade tang like that. And it does have a little bit of a ramp there, so even if you swing it closed, as long as you get it about this far, it sucks it back in, and that does act as a type of blade detent. I like the overall design. I like the blade shape. I don't know if I would exactly say this is a dedicated finger choil. You'd kind of have to be a little bit careful if you did use it. It is comfortable. I don't find it to be uncomfortable in any grip. And I've seen it talked about before. A little bit of the blade tang sticks out in your finger groove here. Now, I already knew the first time I saw somebody talk about that from handling this. For me, it's a total non-issue. Outside of consciously thinking that my finger's touching it, otherwise I don't even know that it's there. Especially when you change to a hammer grip, my finger anyway, doesn't even actually touch it. So, it has a 3 3/4 blade, 3.5 inch cutting edge. I will in a minute talk about, because Josh also has the cold steel version, and I did get to handle both side by side, and I will go ahead and let you guys know all the differences between that one and this one. I'm not actively seeking one of these out in the cold steel version or this version currently, but I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, well, I'll save it to the end. So it's pretty fidget friendly. I like the Scorpion lock. I like the design a lot. I don't feel, especially if you're using a hammer grip or reverse grip for draw cutting, even a saber grip, you're putting pressure on it the whole time. It's not going anywhere. I love the grinds on this thing. I like to see the grinds on blades anyway, though. This does have a rather thick stock, but I didn't measure it yet. But for as thick as the stock is, it's actually ground pretty well. I will get a measurement behind the edge to go along with my testing. But right now, from what I can tell, it's not bad. Go ahead and compare it to a Benchmade 551. You can see it's about a 1/2 inch shorter overall, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And a paramilitary too, and it is just the perspective you're looking at. They are very close in actual length overall. So, in comparing this to the cold steel version, if you're picky about a few things, I could totally understand why you would want to go for this over the cold steel production knife. And I'll talk about the modifications I would have to do if I bought the cold steel version of this. First thing you notice is the thumb studs on the cold steel have extremely sharp edges compared to this. I mean, sharp like it actually digs into your skin, and my fingers are pretty callous, and it digs into my skin pretty good. The blade's a hair shorter, even though cold steel advertises the cutting edge is the same length. I can only think that that is because they took a little bit of area out of the choil here. The scorpion lock on the custom is titanium. It is finished very well. It's extremely comfortable. You don't feel any of those milling edges or anything when you're holding it. I would, on the aluminum version of cold steel, have to hit that with some like 600 grit sandpaper just to knock those little ridges down. They are sharp. Not as sharp as the thumb stud, but they are sharp. The G10 texturing on the cold steel version, in my opinion, is better served to be used with gloves. Like I said, I have a working job, my hands are calloused, and that G10 is sharp. Like, it's irritating sharp on the cold steel version. I mean, it's not a bad knife. The cold steel version is put together very well. It's very comparable to this. You know, minor differences. The pivot's different. A couple of the materials are different. I would also sand the G10 on the cold steel version if I got it. I would definitely knock it down. On the Demko version, this pattern is actually nice. It's not uncomfortable while it provides some traction. It isn't quite as rough as what you'd find on Spyderco G10, but it has a good amount of traction to it. Even though this is a .18 stock and the cold steel is .15 stock, this is ground thinner behind the edge. Yes, I didn't measure it, but you can visibly look at the blade and see that this one is thinner behind the edge, and you can feel it with your fingers that the cold steel version is considerably thicker behind the edge than the Demko version. The weight is almost identical, so I don't see that as being a point of anything. You can't differentiate between 0.1 ounce when you're holding both of them at the same time. I do really like the pivot on this. To be honest, I like a whole lot of things about this, but to justify buying one, I would absolutely have to use it every single day. This version, the custom version, Josh's locks up solid. There's no play in any direction. It is smooth, as you can see. I'm not as acclimated to it as Josh is, but usually after a few minutes of messing with it, I can get it down. All in all, I really like this knife. I like the pocket clip. I really don't care how much sticks out of the pocket. It doesn't bother me at all. I really like the color on his also. This like light gray G10 with the darker raw titanium look, along with the blade grind. I think it goes really well together in this color combination. But I am going to get around to testing this here real soon. I'm going to go ahead and put an edge on it and get it tested, and we'll see how it does. It has a fairly fine tip on it while still being, while still having enough material that I really wouldn't worry about it breaking or anything. And there is a Gias for everybody who asked. he finally decided he wasn't going to pull up any more of the grass, and he was going to stand in front of the camera. So, I don't think I have too much more to add about this, since I am going to be cut testing it. I will talk about how it is in use after I get done, and I will do since this does only have one edge, just like everything else, I'll make sure that it backs up within 10% of 2 tests to validate it. So if the second edge, which will be the first test, and then the third edge, which will be the second test, if they don't back each other up, I will go ahead and do one more. I have a feeling, though, with the way Josh has been using this and how it's kept an edge so far, that it's only going to take 2 times to get the maximum results we're going to see from it. I will say, if I really had to downsize my collection and I could only pick, let's say 1 knife for every day of the week, I want to say the custom version would probably definitely be one of them. I know the lock seems a little odd at first, and this is better at a slow roll. And like Andrew Demko has shown, there are many ways you can close these. It is fun to play with. I have no feelings that it's going to ever fail. The pocket clip is thick enough without sticking up too high, and it has plenty of ramp. I stuck this in and out of my pocket a dozen times or so. It doesn't have too much spring on it or anything. You can feel it in your hand, and there's the boxer. She decided she's going to bark at a squirrel. The clip does not dig into your hand. It doesn't for me. And as far as sizing goes, Banter 24/7 and Kenny it in the pocket, I decided to go ahead and measure mine, and we all have pretty close size hands. Mine is 3 3/4 across, and I honestly don't remember what it is in this direction. But we all have fairly close size hands, as far as palm size goes anyway. That's all I have for this one right now. I will get it tested. We will talk about the results that it does, and just like all the others, I'll have a conclusion video, and I want to get it done in a relatively short time because I do want to get this back to Josh in a timely manner. So that's it for now. Hopefully I can get something done with this in the next couple days, and we can see how it does. I am really curious to see how this S35 does. Being that he is a smaller maker, I'm hoping that it has a really awesome heat treat on it, and it does something in the ballpark of what Steve Sebenza 25 did. As always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.